This is Buster Keaton, and he's about to perform one of his most dangerous stunts yet. If everything goes to plan, he grabs onto the other side and pulls himself up. But Keaton has no safety wire. The jump could be catastrophic. He jumps, but fails to grab onto the ledge and falls down the side of the building. But how did they pull this off without any visual effects? And how did Buster Keaton even survive the fall? Since you liked my last video on this subject, I've gathered even more stunts and impressive techniques used in old movies, long before CGI was even a thing. And once you see how they pulled off some of these stunts, they become even more impressive. We'll go deeper into stunts from Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and techniques that have inspired major Hollywood films to this day. Let's start with one of the biggest legends of the silent film era, Harold Lloyd. While he's most famous for hanging from a clock high above the city, as I explained in a different video, Lloyd has a whole bunch of impressive stunts in his portfolio. Most of his stunts were done without any hidden tricks, like this one from 1926 where an actual train runs over his car, or this smooth one where he picks up his briefcase from inside, walks out and continues driving. But one of his more dangerous stunts is this one from Lloyd's 1924 classic Girl Shy, a stunt that ended with Harold receiving 6 stitches to his forehead. In the movie, Harold has discovered that the woman he loves is about to marry another man. The problem is that Harold is on the other side of the city when the wedding is about to start. He uses every mode of transport he can find to try to stop the ceremony in time. He moves through the city in a stolen car, on the back of a horse, and even hijacks a trolley cart to desperately try to get him there in time. After several failed attempts, Harold spots a firetruck. Realizing it's the fastest thing on the road, he sprints and jumps onto the back of the truck. As he tries to climb further onto the truck for a better grip, he grabs onto the fire hose. However, the hose isn't locked down, and it turns into this impressive scene. But how did he do this safely? We couldn't find any sources describing how they did this stunt, but after analyzing the clip, we found a wire going from his stomach right here. Our theory is that Harold, in addition to actually holding himself up, is connected to a hidden pulley system inside the firetruck. If he was getting too close to the ground, the crew inside would pull him back up again. Even if this is how they did it, it is still a dangerous stunt. His foot could have slipped, or he could have lost his balance. And an accident actually did happen while filming this. The incident was described in the movie's press book. A fractious fire nozzle got away from Lloyd, striking him with trip hammer force across the forehead and knocking him off the engine. For a minute, the other members of the Lloyd company who witnessed the accident thought he had suffered a fractured skull. Luckily, Lloyd was okay and walked away from it with 6 stitches to his forehead. While Harold Lloyd risked hurting himself to impress the audience, other tricks were done by the people behind the camera. What if I told you these people are actually the same size, but clever camera trickery makes this guy seem tiny? But first, let's take a look at another camera trick that baffled the audiences back in 1937. Without any cuts or digital altering in post-production, she transforms from a regular woman into a patchy old lady. The crazy thing is that this effect was done completely in camera, and if the film wasn't in black and white, it would never have worked. So what's the trick here? When you place a red filter in front of the camera lens, it essentially turns everything red invisible, since it's the exact same color as the filter. Take this subscribe button as an example. Putting a red filter in front of the camera, you can hide certain parts of the image. But if we switch to a blue filter, the contrast is suddenly much higher, and the red parts turn dark. And that's sort of what they did in the Octopus in 1937. Instead of using regular makeup on the woman, they used red grease paint in her face. Even some of her teeth were painted red. The filmmakers then placed a gradient filter going from red to blue in front of the lens. Let's turn on black and white as the first step. There we go. When the red part of the filter is placed in front of the camera, it blends perfectly with her skin. Once they slide the filter over to the blue part, the makeup is suddenly visible and appears black. To sell the effect and hide the transition, she pulls off a wig, revealing a much more messy head of hair. If you look closely on her eyes, they also change because of the filter moving from red to blue. This was a genius trick used in multiple black and white movies, but how would it look in color? Well, as you can see, it wouldn't really work so well. Some of the most impressive tricks are done in camera, just like this next genius trick from 1927. But before I show you that, let's talk about today's sponsor, ExpressVPN. When I do research for these videos, I'm constantly consuming content from all over the world, which means sometimes I run into certain videos or articles being region-locked to only specific countries, making accessing them much more difficult where I live. Thankfully, using ExpressVPN helps a lot, because with the click of a single button, I can switch my online location to one of 105 different countries and make sites online think I'm from somewhere else. It really is as simple as just choosing a country, hitting connect, and having access to virtually every piece of geo-locked content I want. This is really helpful when I want to stream movies or TV shows that are only available in select places. In fact, a movie I mentioned later in this video wasn't available in my country, so I changed my location to the US and watched it on a streaming platform I already subscribed to. But that's not all. ExpressVPN is also a powerful tool for keeping you private and secure. It works by encrypting 100% of your online traffic and rerouting it through secure servers. This keeps your browsing history hidden from anyone trying to monitor your data, including your internet service provider, Wi-Fi owner, or even hackers. My subscription also includes Express Keys, a password manager that my team and I use to share logins and keep our accounts secure. I only have to remember one master password, and it even automatically fills in two-factor authentication codes. You can get up to 4 extra months by clicking the link in the description, scanning the QR code on screen, or by visiting expressvpn.com/lostintime. Thanks again to ExpressVPN for sponsoring the channel. Now back to the video. This shot is from the movie Metropolis, a sci-fi film set in a dystopian future. To tell the story, the filmmakers needed to sell the illusion of characters walking around in a gigantic futuristic city, but they obviously couldn't build the city at full scale. So how did they do it? The obvious solution was building miniatures, but this created a whole new problem. How would you place the human-sized actors inside a tiny city? But even with those limitations, they managed to film this shot, showing a large city with people walking across a bridge. The solution is actually very clever, and it was done entirely in camera. Instead of filming the city directly, they placed an angled mirror between the city and the camera. Then they scratched off specific parts of the silver backing of the mirror, making some parts see-through. Now they had to place the actors on a platform way off in the distance to fill the hole in the mirror perfectly. And there it was, real-size humans walking in a miniature city, all done in camera. This technique didn't die with the silent film era. Even in modern cinema, directors still use smaller models to make their movies feel more real. For the Harry Potter film series, the iconic Hogwarts castle wasn't just a digital render. They used a massive 1:24 scale model of the castle. Similarly, for Titanic, James Cameron used a smaller model of the real ship for the sinking sequences. Making humans fit into miniature environments was groundbreaking for the time, but this next trick is even more impressive. This is how they make two equally large humans look completely different in size, all without CGI. In Walt Disney's Darby O'Gill and the Little People from 1959, the main character falls into a hollow mountain and finds himself in a kingdom of leprechauns, and as you can see here, he is much bigger than the leprechauns. But in real life, all the actors are around the same size. So how did they make the actor appear 4 times smaller in this scene? The filmmakers used another genius trick to pull this off, a technique used long before cinema even existed. The technique is called forced perspective. They placed the main character close to the camera and moved the actor playing the leprechaun 4 times further back. They also made the props 4 times larger, so it would match the elements in the foreground. When the camera is placed perfectly, the two scenes will blend seamlessly together, and it really sells the effect. But at this distance, it would look weird if the actors were actually making eye contact. So they set up a reference point for both actors to look at, and even though in reality they're not even close to looking at each other, it certainly appears so through the lens. This technique was used multiple times throughout the film, even in this shot where the main character walks right next to a bunch of leprechauns. This time they raised the camera to a higher point and built a raised platform for the actor to walk on. Below, they marked the exact area for the leprechauns to stand, and when it's angled perfectly, it looks like this. They even added puppets to the foreground to complete the illusion. This is extremely impressive on its own, but it requires the camera to be static, or else the illusion would be broken. This was the problem Peter Jackson wanted to solve when he created Lord of the Rings in 2001. He and his team figured out a way to move the camera, but still keep the forced perspective effect working. The technique was used in this shot, where Gandalf sits at a hobbit-sized table while Bilbo, of course appearing much smaller, pours him a cup of tea. Just like they did in Darby O'Gill and the Little People, they've split the scene in two. Gandalf and half the table is placed close to the camera, while Bilbo and the rest of the table is moved further back, making him appear much smaller. But what makes this even more impressive is the fact that the camera is moving. But if only the camera was moving, it would look like this, and the effect is broken. To solve this, they placed Gandalf and his part of the scene on a motion-controlled platform, matching the exact movement of the camera, keeping everything perfectly lined up. One of my favorite channels here on YouTube, Corridor Crew, goes into much more detail about this technique, and actually managed to recreate it in their studio. I'll put the link in the description, and I highly recommend you go to watch it. They also explain how Gandalf was able to lift off the lid of his cup. While some of these effects were done by camera trickery, for this last one, the credit all belongs to one man, the legend himself, Buster Keaton. This is a famous stunt from Keaton's 1923 film, 3 Ages. But according to Buster Keaton himself, he was never supposed to fall down. The plan was for him to grab onto the ledge, then lift himself up on the other side and move on. But that did not happen. In the film, Buster Keaton and another man are both in love with the same girl. Trying desperately to reach her, Buster takes to the rooftops as a shortcut. He goes for the jump, but doesn't manage to hold on to the ledge and falls down. And even though the stunt is really dangerous, they of course had safety measures in place. Between the buildings, just out of frame, they had a safety net or mattress ready to catch Keaton if he fell. But even though they had safety measures in place, Keaton hit his knees into the wall before he fell down. Because of this, he had to stay home and rest for 3 days. Even though the shot wasn't planned, they agreed it was too good not to be used. So the production reworked the sequence to use the fall as part of the gag. For the next shot, Buster Keaton was replaced with a doll falling through the awnings, as you can see here. Then for the next shots, Keaton was back, even for this one, which is really impressive. But that's only one side of the story. According to this article from silentlocations.com, Buster was publicity savvy and sometimes embellished promotional interviews. They and a few others believe the plan was always to fall down, and that Keaton exaggerated the story for promotion. What's your favorite of these tricks? If you like this one, I think you'll also like my first video on this subject. If you've already seen that, the other one on your screen should be perfect for you.